Deep in South Africa, there is a hidden pocket of land that packs more plant species into a single square kilometer than the legendary Amazon rainforest. A mountain so ancient that the Himalayas, the Alps, and the Rockies are like newborns in its presence. What you are about to hear will completely rewire how you see this country. Let's start with the coastline, because South Africa's ocean situation is not normal. The sea temperature on the west coast sits at around 12 degrees Celsius. Cold, almost aggressive. Meanwhile, the east coast, at the exact same latitude, sits at a comfortable 24 degrees. That is a 12-degree difference. It is the largest coastal temperature gap of any country on Earth. Two completely different marine ecosystems, shaped by two different ocean currents, on either side of the same nation. Most people have never heard of Paarl Rock, and that is honestly a shame. It is the world's second largest exposed granite boulder, covering 22 full hectares and visible from 25 kilometers away. Located in the Western Cape, it has been sitting there, massive and completely unbothered, for hundreds of millions of years. Tourists fly past it on the way to wine country and do not even look up one of the biggest rocks on Earth, and it barely makes the tourism brochures. Now, this next one is a little uncomfortable. Mapungubwe Hill is the site of a powerful Iron Age civilization that flourished over 1,000 years ago. Advanced, sophisticated, a real kingdom. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the uncomfortable truth is that most South Africans have never visited it. They have heard the name, but they have never stood on that ground where an ancient African empire once traded gold with the world. Then there is Boesmansgat. Try saying that 3 times fast. It is a cave sinkhole that plunges 283 meters straight down into underwater darkness. It is one of the deepest freshwater sinkholes in the world ever explored by divers, and it has claimed lives. Multiple experienced, highly trained divers have died attempting to reach the bottom. Some places on this earth do not want to be explored. Boesmansgat is one of them. South Africa's gold mining industry has extracted over 50,000 metric tons of gold from the ground since 1886. That would be approximately $2.8 trillion in today's value. To put that in perspective, that is enough solid gold to fill the first 4 floors of the Empire State Building. The wealth that came out of that ground is almost incomprehensible, and so is the human cost of getting it out. The Tsitsikamma Forest is the oldest protected forest on the entire African continent. The yellow wood trees standing there right now are over 800 years old. They were already towering ancient giants before Columbus ever set sail, before the Renaissance, before most of Europe's great cathedrals were even finished. You walk through Tsitsikamma, and you are walking through 8 centuries of uninterrupted life. That is not just nature. That is a living archive. South Africa's elephants have been spotted swimming across rivers more than 4 kilometers wide, and they do it by using their trunks as snorkels, held above the water like a biological periscope. These are land animals casually doing submarine maneuvers. If you ever needed proof that elephants are in a category of their own, there it is. Every August, something almost unbelievable happens in the Namaqualand Desert. Millions upon millions of daisies burst open across the landscape, turning an otherwise dry, barren wasteland into the world's largest natural flower display. The ground becomes a carpet of orange, white, and yellow that stretches further than you can see. 1 month a year, this place looks like a painting. The other 11 months, desert. It is like the land is showing off once a year, just to remind you it can. Shark Alley near Gansby on the Western Cape is the great white shark capital of the world. More great white sharks per square kilometer than anywhere else on the planet. Cage diving here is a legitimate tourist activity. People pay money to be lowered into that water in a metal cage. And having seen the footage, it is easy to understand the appeal. It is also easy to understand why some people will never do it personally. The Cape Peninsula, just the peninsula alone, covers only 471 square kilometers. Yet in this tiny space, it packs in over 2,200 plant species. That is more than the Amazon rainforest. Yes, the Amazon, the global gold standard for biodiversity. For a quick comparison, in the Cape Peninsula, there are nearly 5 plant species per square kilometer, whereas in the Amazon, it is less than 100th of that. And yet, almost nobody talks about it. Biltong culture. If you know, you know. And if you do not, here's the reality. In South Africa, it is completely normal to air dry raw meat seasoned with vinegar and coriander for several days, then slice it thin and eat it as a snack. It is not jerky. It is not cooked. It is a preservation method brought by Dutch settlers that has been perfected over 400 years. And it is one of the first things a South African living abroad will ask someone to send them in a care package. Now, the Tugela River has a secret. It flows down the Drakensberg Escarpment in a single uninterrupted drop of 948 meters. That makes Tugela Falls the second tallest waterfall on Earth. But here's the part that gets overlooked. The Drakensberg Range itself is a geological time machine. The rocks at the bottom of those cliffs are over 300 million years old. They were ancient when the first dinosaurs took their first steps. Speaking of ancient, let's talk about the Vredefort Dome. It is the site of the largest and oldest confirmed asteroid impact crater on Earth. It happened over 2 billion years ago. The original crater was probably over 300 kilometers in diameter. That impact didn't just leave a scar. It fundamentally changed the geology of the entire region. Today, most people drive through it without realizing that they are crossing the ground zero of a planetary catastrophe. South Africa is also one of only 12 countries in the world where tap water is safe to drink straight from the source in most major urban areas. That does not sound impressive until you realize that you cannot say that about Italy, you cannot say that about Greece, and you certainly cannot say that about most of the Americas. It is a quiet privilege that many South Africans take for granted. The Cape Floral Kingdom is the smallest of the world's 6 floral kingdoms, but it is the richest. It contains nearly 10,000 plant species, 70% of which grow nowhere else on Earth. That means if you walk through a patch of fynbos near Cape Town, you are looking at plants that literally do not exist anywhere else. Not in Australia, not in South America, not in the rest of Africa. Just there. Then there is the Augerbees Falls. The Orange River crashes through a granite ravine in a single 56-meter drop, and when the river is in flood, the sound is so loud that local Khoisan people name it Aquaribees, the place of great noise. But the real spectacle happens after dark. The spray from the falls creates permanent rainbows in the moonlight. You do not need sunlight to see a rainbow at Augerbees. You just need a full moon and a willingness to stand in the cold. South Africa has a desert that blooms, a forest that predates most modern countries, and a coastline that hosts 2 opposite oceans. It has a mountain, Table Mountain, that is estimated to be 360 million years old. The Himalayas only started forming about 40 million years ago. The Alps, 30 million. The Rockies, 80 million. Table Mountain watched continents drift. It has been there for almost the entire story of life on land. And finally, let's talk about the people. South Africa has 11 official languages, 3 capital cities, and a constitution that was the first in the world to prohibit discrimination on the grounds of sexual orientation. The national anthem is sung in 5 languages. The flag is one of the most recognizable on Earth. And the spirit of Ubuntu, the idea that a person is a person through other people, runs through everything. So here's the truth. South Africa is not just a country. It is a whole planet compressed into one nation. Deserts and rainforests, ancient mountains and modern cities, gold and flowers and sharks and stars. You could spend a lifetime exploring it and still miss half of what it has to offer. And that is not a failure. That is the whole point.